he said. You were pushing her away when I caught him and my wife. She just cried. It's your fault. I stayed silent, covered in freezer frost, thinking about every dollar I earned. Years later, when they came crawling back, broken and desperate, I looked at them and only had one thing to say. I spent my weekends working overnight in a freezer that hits 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me tell you, that kind of cold gets into your bones. No matter how many layers you wear. But I do it. I punch in. I bust my ass. Because every extra dollar means my 2 kids. My wife. And yeah, even my best friend since first grade, Dave, living with us, are taken care of. That's my job now. Post-military. Provide. Protect. It's what I know. Dave 01. Since we were just snot-nosed kids, he's been crashing with us since the start of the year. He broke up with his long-term girlfriend. A 2-year thing. And he was pretty messed up about it. Who else was gonna take him in? He was family. So, I opened my doors. Gave him a room. A place to decompress. Get back on his feet. Didn't charge him a dime for rent. Groceries. Nothing. Just figured he'd eventually find work. And would laugh about this tough patch later. That's what friends do. Right. That's what I do. It was Tuesday morning. It just dragged myself home after a long, soul-numbing shift in the freezer. My whole body ached. My eyes were gritty. And all I wanted was a hot shower and about 8 hours of oblivion. My wife was still asleep. I tossed my keys on the counter. Shed my heavy coat. And as I reached for my phone to check for any missed calls from the kids' school, a notification popped up. It was from Dave's phone, which had apparently left on the kitchen counter. Screen up. My wife's name was at the top. My brain was still in that frozen, post-shift haze. Trying to process the words last night was amazing. Can't wait for our spot again soon. I stared at it. My vision tunneled. No. That's not right. That can't be what I think it is. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an old text. Maybe it was a joke. But the timestamp was from just a few hours ago. My body, still numb from the cold, suddenly felt like it was on fire. My heart started hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. What was our spot? What did amazing mean? I didn't want to know. But a cold, hard knot of dread was tightening in my stomach. I felt a weird buzzing behind my ears. It was like my senses were on overdrive and completely shut down at the same time. My first thought was to burst into the bedroom, shake her awake, and scream the words at her. But then, a colder, more tactical part of my brain, the part honed by years in the service, kicked in. No. Not yet. You need more data. A direct confrontation now. Without concrete evidence beyond a single text. Just invites denial. Get more information. I took a screenshot on Dave's phone, then deleted the original message from his side, and placed the phone back exactly where I found it. My hands were shaking. I wasn't sure if it was from anger, shock, or the residual cold from the freezer. Probably all three. I knew I was pushing her away lately. The military transition. The untreated mental health stuff. The distance. I felt it was a heavy burden on us. And that thought, that self-blame, started worming its way in right then and there. Is this my fault? Did I drive her to this? But even as that insidious thought took root, the image of last night was amazing, burned in my mind, alongside the memory of Dave, my brother, my friend, laughing at my dinner table just last week. I took that shower. But the scalding hot water did nothing to thaw the ice forming around my heart. I couldn't scream. I couldn't cry. I just felt hollow. My goal was simple: get out what the hell just happened. But the dilemma was crippling. How do you even begin to confront the 2 people you trusted most in the world, when you're already halfway convinced it's your fault, and your own mind is a minefield of unaddressed trauma? Reddit. I'm sitting here, staring at that screenshot on my own phone now. My wife is still asleep. Dave is probably out doing whatever he does these days. I feel like I'm trapped in that freezer. But the cold is coming from the inside out. What do I even do right now? How do I even start to approach this without completely losing my mind? I feel like I'm already past that point. Any advice on the immediate next steps? Before I absolutely blow up. Would be appreciated. I tried to act normal that morning. Showered. Made some coffee. Even tried to eat a piece of toast. But it felt like sandpaper in my throat. My wife eventually stirred. Came out to the kitchen, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She smiled at me. A soft, familiar smile that now felt like a punch to the gut. I just nodded. Swallowed. My heart was a drum in my chest, louder than the clinking of my mug. Morning, she said, reaching for her coffee. She probably thought I was just tired from my shift. That's usually my default state. Yeah. Morning, I replied, my voice raspy. I picked up my phone, opened the screenshot, and slid it across the counter to her. She looked at it, then at me. Her smile evaporated. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. The color drained from her face faster than ice melting in a hot pan. What is this? She whispered, her voice barely audible. It wasn't a question asking for information. It was a desperate plea for denial. Just then, Dave wandered out of his room, looking for coffee. He saw her face, saw me standing there, rigid, saw the phone on the counter. His morning guys died in his throat. The air in the kitchen thickened, suddenly suffocating. It's from your phone, Dave, I said, my voice flat, devoid of any warmth. To her, last night was amazing. Can't wait for our spot again soon. Care to explain our spot? Or amazing? Dave's face went white. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. My wife. She started to cry. Soft, choked sobs at first, then escalating. It's not what you think, babe, she pleaded. But the words felt hollow. Her immediate reaction, the way she crumpled, told me everything I needed to know. Even before a single coherent word came out of her mouth. My internal system, the one that used to make split-second decisions in combat, registered it confirmed. Threat is real. Betrayal is complete. All the military training to remain calm under fire, to assess and react, kicked in. But this wasn't an enemy on the battlefield. It was my home, my family, and my best friend. The playbook didn't cover this. The next few hours were a blur of hushed arguments, frantic denials from Dave that quickly crumbled under the weight of the evidence, and my wife's tearful half-confessions. The kids were still asleep upstairs. And that was my only focus, keep them out of this. That became my immediate goal. My mind raced. Who leaves? Dave. Obviously. But where does he go? He has no job. No money. And her? Do I kick her out? How do I even explain that to the kids? Dave eventually just grabbed a backpack, mumbled something about staying with a cousin, and vanished. It was too easy. Too quick. He didn't even pack his other stuff. Just left. It hit me then. A sharp, cold jab. He wasn't running from me, he was running from the consequences. Just like he always did. That's why I'd helped him so many times before. But this time, it was my life. My family had trampled. The following days were a hellish tightrope walk. I still had to work those freezer shifts. The brutal cold, now a sickeningly familiar comfort. A place where I could just exist and not think about the dumpster fire my life had become. Coming home, the house was a minefield. Every shared glance, every tense silence with my wife felt like a lev grenade. Memories kept flashing through my head. Dave and I building sandcastles as kids. Graduating high school. Him being my best man. Me moving him in. All those years. All that trust. Reduced to ash by a few whispered words in the dark. I kept remembering my wife. Saying I do. Promising forever. Both of them. Smiling in our wedding photos. Standing by my side. It made me feel physically ill. And then there's me. The veteran with multiple mental disorders that I still haven't properly addressed. The transition out of the military has been a nightmare. And I haven't found a single therapist I click with. Now, on top of that, the self-blame is a constant hum in my head. I was pushing her away. I wasn't present. This is all my fault. But then the searing anger returns. Pushing back even if I messed up. Does that justify this? With him. In my house. I'm trying to hold it together for my kids. Trying to project some semblance of normalcy. But inside, I feel like a building about to collapse. My mind is constantly replaying scenes. Analyzing every word. Every look. Searching for an answer that isn't there. Reddit. I'm stuck. My wife is still here. Technically. Dave is gone. But his presence lingers like a bad smell. I need to figure out the next practical steps. But my brain feels scrambled. How do I navigate a separation or divorce with kids involved when I can barely string a coherent thought together? And how do I stop blaming myself when every fiber of my being says I caused this by being a shitty husband? Even though I was trying to provide for everyone. I'm barely sleeping. Barely eating. And the only thing colder than that freezer is my own damn house right now. It's been a week since I found that text. A week since Dave quietly slipped out. His apology a pathetic mumble as he left. My wife is still here. We're cohabitating. I guess you could call it. It's not a home. It's a shared space filled with unspoken words and the heavy porridge and the heavy suffocating silence of what used to be. She moves around the house like a ghost. Avoids eye contact. And only speaks when absolutely necessary. Usually about the kids. The kids themselves seem to sense the tension. Whispering more. Looking at us with wide, questioning eyes. The objective fact is, the house is a powder keg. And any pretense of normalcy is a thin, flimsy veil. My internal judgment is that this can't last. Not for them. Not for me. This isn't a family anymore. It's a living arrangement waiting to explode. My days are a blur of work. Then coming home to this. During the few hours, I'm not in the freezer or trying to pretend I'm okay for the kids. I'm stuck looking at the practical next steps. I've opened browser tabs on divorce lawyers, child custody in my state, and rental apartments. Just seeing those words fills me with a sickening dread. Our joint bank account, which I've been filling with those freezer wages, suddenly feels like a ticking time bomb. How do I split everything without screwing over my kids? How do I ensure they have stability when their world, and mine, has been rocked to its core? Every single item is a painful reminder that my trust was so completely misplaced. I see his old hoodie and I just want to burn it. The internal monologue is relentless. A broken record on repeat. 1 minute I'm burning with righteous anger they betrayed me. Both of them. My wife. My best friend. They did this in my house. While I was literally freezing my ass off to provide. Then, a switch flips. And the self-blame kicks in. Insidious and suffocating. But you were distant. You were quiet. You let your own issues build up. You pushed her away. If you had been a better husband, a more present father, would this have happened? This loop plays over and over. All day. All night. Making it impossible to think straight. Let alone make rational decisions. I understand logically that even if I had issues, it doesn't excuse betrayal. But the emotional part of my brain just keeps hammering home, your fault. Your fault. It's a battle I can't win because both sides are me. This mental hell is compounded by my existing issues. The military transition has left me raw, exposed, and vulnerable. And my diagnosed mental disorders have been screaming for attention long before this bomb dropped. I know I need professional help. I've been trying to find a therapist since I got out. I've called half a dozen numbers. Sat through 2 initial consultations. One guy just wanted me to talk about my childhood, which felt useless when my world was imploding now. Another sounded like he was reading from a textbook, completely devoid of empathy. Each failed attempt felt like another defeat, another brick in the wall of isolation I've built around myself. It reinforced the idea that I have to handle everything alone, even when I clearly can't. But standing here now, looking at this shattered mess, I'm forced to acknowledge something I've tried to ignore for weeks. I can't do this alone. This isn't a problem I can solve with military grit or by just sucking it up. My kids deserve better than a father who's barely functioning. My mental health, already hanging by a thread, is unraveling rapidly. My judgment is crystal clear now. I am overwhelmed, beyond my capacity to cope. And I need external, objective perspectives. So Reddit. Here I am. Raw. Exposed. And completely lost. My goal is to navigate this without destroying myself or, more importantly, my kids. My dilemma is how to make any kind of sound decision when my mind is a war zone, haunted by self-blame and rage, with no professional help in sight. What are the first, most critical steps I should take right now? Should I talk to a lawyer immediately? How do I even start that process when I feel so financially vulnerable? And how do I begin to untangle the self-blame from the actual betrayal so I can think clearly for my kids' sake? I'm drowning here. Guys, any and all advice is desperately needed.